Welcome back, brothers, to the 801st Legion podcast. I'm Matt, and I'm here today with...
Kyle, your boy.
It's us. We're back. We got a ton to talk about. It's been a crazy time. Gen Con announcements, new releases, lots of stuff coming up, so get ready. And as always, Kyle, punch it.
Hello there.
You must unlearn
Dark
what you
side
have
of the Force
learned.
is a pathway to many abilities.
Red,
Some
green, or
considered
red, green, red.
I know.
She got she'll do.
Sorry about the mess.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
General Kenobi.
Let's rearrange some architecture.
Is it possible to learn this power?
I thank you for your hospitality.
Twice the pride, double the fall.
Impressive. I'll show you the dark side.
And we're back. Kyle, it's been a while. How are you doing?
I am just... You have no idea how ready I am to actually get back to doing this. It's been a long time coming. We've heard from you guys a lot on like, hey, when's the next episode coming? We keep promising soon. So just know we're doing well, and that we are planning on doing this weekly again.
Yeah, right? Yeah, everything's been crazy, but we're looking to get back to normal, which is huge.
Yeah.
There's been a lot to talk about. I mean, I don't know about you guys at home, but for us, we've actually had some chances to get games in lately. What?
Games? In COVID?
You're allowed to do that?
How is that possible?
Not always.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Not during COVID. No. Yeah.
But yeah, guys, imagine this comeback as a season 2, if you will, because we really do mean it. Like, we're planning on weekly. We already have it set in our schedules. The last few months, as I'm sure you guys experience as well, it's just been kind of nuts trying to get things in your normal life going. So we're happy to be back with season 2 of the 801st.
That we are. Luckily, things have been going great. Hopefully, you guys are safe out there. We've got a ton we want to talk about today.
Yeah. Let's
just
should we
get
just,
into
yeah,
it.
should we just jump into it?
Right? I mean, I don't know if there's much more to say.
Yeah, but we hope you guys are safe. But that's a big thing to us, too. We hope you guys are doing well. But yeah, let's get on to the topics for today. First being some recent releases that happened.
Recent
Oh
releases.
my gosh. There's things that come out for FFG. When does that happen?
What?
Let's see. Since we recorded last, we've gotten Cassian, Iden, Padme, and Cad Bane. All of which I don't have. No, I'm just kidding. I ended up picking Padme, so that's exciting.
That's funny because I only thought I was going to get half of those things. I ended up getting all 4.
Yeah.
That's one thing per army. So everybody, no matter what faction you play, or if you play multiple factions, you've had a lot to deal with. Mm-hmm. Well, not deal with per se, but you've had a lot to play with, which is pretty cool. I guess let's start with the oldest stuff. Cassian and Iden. How have they been for you?
Well, like I said, I haven't been able to play with them. I bought Cassian and K2, but then a member of the community was like, "Oh man, I haven't been able to find him anywhere," so I just gave it to him. I was like, "Dude, like I've been trying to go down to one faction anyway. I mostly got Cassian and K2 because like I want the option if I want to, but honestly, because this guy only plays Rebels, so I was like, yeah, let's just help out the community here and yeah, so we definitely I definitely had a chance to play with Cassian, but I didn't. So, but I'm more curious. You've played with both of them.
I have. I've had, I don't want to say extensive play. I'm not like a play tester, but I have played each.
Really? I thought that's what you got paid for here. Matt also, yeah, this is something we forgot to update you guys on. Matt works at the shop now.
I think we may have said that last
Did
time.
we?
Maybe,
it's hard to tell what happens in between podcasts when we record them every 3 months.
It is. Right? Yeah. No, it's interesting. Yeah, I'm here, still part of the community, but also, during everything going on. It's nice to have a second job also to make a little side cash.
He's rolling in the dough. Don't let him fool you.
Don't even.
He's rich. That's the only way he can afford 4 factions. He has 2 jobs.
Oh, I have all the money for them.
Will simp for Legion.
Yeah, I guess if you have 4 factions, guess how many of those models actually get painted.
Yeah, for real though.
Turning into a gray army. Yeah.
My vital assets is still unpainted.
Same, right? Oh, I think I got them glued.
I painted Padme the first day I had
That's
her.
another release that's come out.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, back to Cassian and Iden. What do you think?
I think they are so good.
Nice,
I think both of them are incredible options. Rebels, I think, benefit a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, just my opinion, that Iden is the better of the two. Well, that's just because I think I also like the Empire playstyle a little bit.
Yeah.
But for Rebels, Cassian is great. The damage she can put out is great. The utility is amazing. I really like K2 also. I think K2 is amazing. Just the keyword.
K2 is like the reason I wanted to get the 2.
Right? Yeah, it would have been so great with the paint scheme. You know, the whole like Rebels.
Yeah.
Black and red. But so they've been very good. The interaction they have with Jyn too kind of makes the Rebels almost like pseudo droids to the point where suppression doesn't really matter for a lot of the turns during the game.
In fact, it helps you.
yeah. In fact, it does help you a lot. In fact, I beat some droids playing with Josh, one of the guys in the community. I also have lost with them.
You hate to see it.
Yeah.
I hate to see, I love to see you saying that again.
Right? I know, right? It's funny because with all the things going on lately with all the factions, it's hard to keep up with everything, but you get some good play in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have really enjoyed them. And then with the addition of Vital Assets, that's really helped Rebels as well. I've been really a big fan.
Yeah. But Matt, that's old news now.
That
that's
is
like
old news.
2-3 months ago.
That is.
How about these new hot boys and girls we got going on the table? We got Padme and Cad Bane. That's what the people want. That's what the people need.
Right? Well, those are brand new, fresh out of the boxes, like literally, 2 weeks ago, tops?
Well, you're a droid player, so tell me, how's your experience been playing with Cad Bane?
I haven't had a chance yet.
I regret to inform you that Cad Bane is Cad lame. I'm just kidding.
I can only report what I have been seeing, which is dumb, because usually I'm on the front lines, man, I'm going to be playing this. Usually you and I play games the day they come out. We know these things. It's been a little harder. And then since there's only been one... So we're here at the store, we're not allowed to do open game nights.
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast won't let people do it. Games Workshop doesn't support other games, stuff like that. Basically...
FFG isn't doing official events either.
They aren't doing official events. So we're doing table reservations. There's a lot of tables. People can reserve tables as long as they're 6 to 12 feet apart from each other, no more than 4 or 5. So we have had some people over play. Last week was the only week I had a chance. We had between the time they got released, and I just missed it. But I will tell you, I've watched some bat reps on it, and I have been all over the Discords, and I will tell you, he is surprising me in everything I'm seeing.
Yeah, I can't wait to go up against him because, one, I haven't played with him, obviously, but I haven't played against him either. I did get a game with Padman, half of a game before we had to call it ends over,
Well, it's interesting because I actually want to ask you about that because Cad Bane is so much area control and area denial, along with a lot of damage, and he just brings a lot of flexibility to the crew. How did you see Padme doing? Was Padme on the other side of the coin? Was the experience kind of like that?
Well, when it comes to Padme, I feel like a lot of what I found out was somewhat of what we expected to see from her early on, right? With her secret mission, her and R2 just putting a lot of pressure on your opponent to really kind of pick and choose their battles. Okay, well, 'cause for the list I ran, I had Rex. I had what I'm calling Heroes of the Republic kind of list, where it's all of the big names, and something I can't wait to do when we get Fives and Echo in as well. But I had all the big names. I had Obi-Wan, I had Rex, Padme, and R2. So, standby clones with Phase 2 clone trooper, pretty standard list there. And so, I feel like I was trying to play a little bit to force my opponent into choosing, okay, do I go after Padme and R2 and stop them from getting their secret mission, or do I go after these big threats like Obi-Wan and these standby clones? Which do I do, right? And sadly, because we weren't able to finish that game.
You guys got 5 turns?
Yeah, we got 3 or 4 turns in. So we got decently far, kind of enough to tell where it was going. I think at least one of them would have broken through. I think Padme would have died, but I think R2 would have, because she got lit up by Sabine, and I think R2 would have broken through and got his secret mission off. And that would have been enough to break the tie because we were in contention of 2 different points. So who knows how it really would have gone. It's one of those well, you could have done this. Well, I could have done this. And it's hard to tell. Where you can somewhat see where things are going, it's still hard to see how it ends up.
Right. That actually, it's funny how R2 has been so clutch in some of the games I've played lately.
Yeah.
I had a game actually like that where I was playing clones. Versus Iden and the Imperials, and it was kind of like that a little bit, because Iden and the Imperials, they start running her with 2 Death Troopers is just a lot of damage from range 4, and it's crazy the support she gives them. So with the clones, at first things weren't looking very good, but R2 was able to kind of threaten to score, which took some of the pressure off the clones, and then the standby tokens started kicking in around turn 3 and 4, and just allowed me to focus some people down to come back. It's kind of weird how you don't think something as little as that will impact the game, but when it comes right down to it, since it is victory point based and objective based, that's huge. It's kind of like bounty.
Yeah, and like something I definitely want to try more here soon is not using, like, because you know me, like I like playing things like casually competitive, as we've talked about here. We both do, but I also like trying to come up with ways that maybe the people aren't thinking of. Hence why I love the airspeeder for the rebels. Why I love Wookiees. So I kind of want to try doing R2 in a way that's more like aggression focused, like really, like, because with the mortars suppressing people and then R2 suppressing people, that could be really nasty, and I want to try that out, especially with some key characters coming out soon, which we'll get to in a minute.
Right. Well, I'm excited to see you do that, because I remember you did that once to me with comms jammers.
Oh yeah.
And R2, and feels bad.
It feels bad. Yeah.
Oh, side note, for everybody at home, we have been seeing a lot more speeders in our local meta lately. Mm-hmm. So,
you're welcome. No, yeah, I'm just kidding.
It's weird. Just kidding. I'm seeing land speeders and air speeders show up weekly. Yeah. Now, granted, we're not the most world competitive meta ever. I think still very competitive to the point where we have a lot of people who are out to win the games and net listing a little bit, if you will. But
99% of that I still contribute to the fact that like we're still in we're in quarantine still for the most part. We're trying to do that social distancing thing. So I think right now with no tournaments going on, people are more willing to try with those things, and that's awesome to see.
It's interesting to see those things also be successful, and I completely agree.
Yeah, and a lot of new people that have come in, so that's great too. So yeah, if you're one of those people that have been coming in that are new, we so very much appreciate you checking out the game, because we just love it,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's funny to think how many, like our last week here, we had like 16 people, I think, one night. And since then, I've at least done beginner teacher games with 3 more people. New people, like other people are consistent. It's cool to see the game that we love survive and thrive during all that's been going on.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of it for the releases that we've had. So let's move on to the upcoming, what we have to look forward to. We do want to quickly address Clan Wren. I like how Matt put in our notes for the show, thoughts and prayers, implying that we may not get these anytime soon. So we got a spoiler article about Clan Wren, but real quickly we'll go over some of our thoughts on it, because we don't have anything for Imperial Spec Ops. No article as of the time of this recording. Who knows? Maybe it'll go up tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we have no article yet for
I think they said Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So a couple days after this will go up. So what we do know is just kind of Clan Wren and the Mandalorian Resistance. Matt, what are your thoughts on those?
They look really good.
Oh, yeah.
As it's funny as we talk about, people who are newer to the community, or even people who are more just playing where we are playing in our community. We're seeing a lot more Rebels, and as I've talked to those Rebel players and I've played Rebels, Clan Wren looks to be incredible. I think they have a lot of keywords there that will lend themselves to future releases, especially with the whole Sabine. I forget the keyword. I'll have to pull it up right here. Where if you're within range of Sabine.
Yeah, I can't remember the word, but it's just it's pretty much if you're in range 1 or 2, you can get a dodge token at the beginning of the activation phase.
Exactly,
and it's like reliable 1, but with a dodge token. So and it's conditional, of course, but overall, that's just like a really solid ability to have, especially with how I feel like Rebels do want to be aggressive, but they don't have the defense die to do that. Now we're getting units with red defense die that can keep up with Sabine and Luke, because okay, let's be real. You're going to see Operative Luke, Sabine, and Clan Wren like every single competitive Rebel list.
You're going to see them so much. Like, it's just so much in your face damage. I think you brought this point up, and I kind of think it's important to bring up as well. I don't know if we'll see as much Clan Wren as we will Mandalorian Resistance. Granted, I know they did the Clan Wren points a lot lower, so you can technically take them for a little bit more and still get those other keywords they add and the different weapons from Ursa and Tristan. But it's going to be nice to just have Rebels who have red defense dice and surge both ways and have jump. Like, it makes me think about Death Troopers, but better.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
No, and I like the options that they can go in both, right? Tristan and Ursa, like that they can go in both. And then the Beskad Duelist will be really cool if you're going for that hyper-aggressive, like, melee combat play style.
Absolutely.
So, just, like, keeping up with that would be really great. And the fact that they have Nimble, and they get to start the activation with a dodge token, that's, like, so Rebel. And that's great, because I feel like Rebels haven't really had full potential given to them with that keyword. Nimble is kind of like... it's great. I love it on Obi-Wan for sure, but on regular Rebel troopers, it's like, well, they're gonna die anyway. So
right. Oh, it's retinue. That's the
okay.
keyword.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Cool.
Sabine. No, I agree, and it's like one aim or one dodge token, so it really is flexible.
Oh, it's either or. Okay.
It is. You can do either or, and the fact that you're already surging both ways doesn't mean you have to try hard to make use of it.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
I do feel like the dodge will be more valuable because there are other ways that you can get that aim token when you need it, even if you have to move and shoot, like offensive push or, there are other ways, right?
Agreed.
And then, man.
I mean, especially because, like, I think the biggest thing with Death Troopers sometimes is sometimes your dice just fail. Yeah. Dodge tokens, they don't fail. Unless you've got, like, high velocity, but that's a whole other bag of worms.
Yeah. No, that's true. Something really quickly that reminded me of, though, is I want to just, like, for a quick second, just appreciate situational awareness. We got that with Padme.
Oh, my gosh.
I put that on Obi-Wan. Really like it. Really like it.
Be able to cancel crits.
Yeah.
That's actually really funny. That's actually super nice.
Yeah. It's sad because I was thinking, oh, yeah, I'll just Guardian away and dodge away crits. I'm like, oh, yeah, fundamentally, you just can't Guardian away crits anyway, so that can't work. But there are other uses that are still super helpful.
Ran into that actually playing against some droids where the guy was playing Josh. Well, actually, maybe it was I playing. We were both playing droids. We'd swapped, so I had Rebels one turn, he had droids, and we swapped, did different lists, but the same factions. We ran into that where we were trying to figure out Guardian with armor. When you Guardian, you don't get those keywords.
Right.
So armor 1 doesn't take away a damage. You still have to roll for it. So it's interesting how it works out. But, dude, as a more Rebels player, what do you think of these guys? Like, overall rating, what are you thinking?
Oh, well, like, I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be staples. I do, like I said, you're going to see, these guys come in with Luke and Sabine all the time, and I think it's just going to be a staple. I am super curious to see if their points are enough to where it's like, because Tauntauns are also super popular with Rebels. I wonder if Tauntauns still have a place, because like I feel like well, of course they still have a place, but if you follow me on this tangent for a second, I wonder if like it's enough of a shift to kind of go back to like what Rebels were kind of like losing in the aspect, because like we've talked about how short troopers like are like anti-Empire. They do things that Empire normally didn't do, and that kind of way took away from the identity of the Rebels a little bit. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like
it totally. Well, yeah, exactly, because it took away like
a super accurate unit, but had bad saves. That took the Rebels now don't have a purpose anymore. But now with Clan Wren doing things that the Empire sort of did, it's like, okay, we're having a little bit of a give and take. So I wonder, like, if that's enough to kind of push Tauntauns out, because we see those a lot.
Agree. Well, it's funny because, like, I've thought about this a while, because Tauntauns, they were always touted these great things, and they still are very good. But every time I come up against Tauntauns, or even if I play them myself, I don't feel like they end up lasting that long. And having played a lot of the Rebel list that I'm seeing a lot of lately, they have a lot of armor, vehicles, ATRTs, air speeders, land speeders, and those things. The fact that they have armor and all this cover makes them survive so much more.
Oh yeah.
The Tauntauns, man, I feel like, especially with like clone standby tokens and with the droids and all these other armies, I feel like I'm just not too worried about them.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and I don't feel like the nerfs did that. I feel like it's just as the game has progressed, they've found their place.
If a nerf did it, it's not a nerf through the erratas. It's a nerf through other things just getting better, So.
Exactly. And, I mean, we've always said this. You've said this. I've said it. Nerfs feel bad.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with this game. It's still new enough that even though things may feel bad now, the growth and increase of the game will naturally smooth some things out over time. Now, obviously, there will be needs for errata. We already know some's coming in the future. Oh, spoilers.
Yeah, for real.
But, yeah, I agree.
Well, should we just get into that? So should we just get into the other things that
Let's do it. I mean, there's not really much to talk about with Spec Ops yet.
yeah, Spec Ops who? Spec who? But, yeah, Gen Con Online just happened this weekend. we had some spicy new announcements, things that unfortunately were leaked, but I mean also were like, duh.
Like finally.
Yeah, it's more. It's not as much of a leak as in okay, thank goodness it's finally happening. But we got the boys, the ones that Matt and I just won't shut up about, the ones that literally, like I feel like last episode I'm like, yeah, when Maul comes out is when I'll play Separatists. Guess what, baby?
He's here.
Maul's coming.
And I finally got my clones painted. Just in time for all this.
Yeah.
Well, I say just in time. We got till November.
Yeah, for real. Which means like January, but FFG dates. But yeah, so we got till about March of 2022 before Maul and Anakin come out. So we have some time.
Side note, I don't know if you guys saw on Reddit, Kyle and I made this meme. We were building actually Padme and Cad Bane.
Oh, yeah.
And we made this meme and posted it to the subreddit where it's like Cad Bane pointing his gun at the back of Padme. And it's like, she's like, wait a minute. It's all delays? And Cad Bane's like, always has been. It's super funny.
We both had people like, oh, did you see that that really funny meme? And we're just like, bro, we made that.
That's my backpack in the background of the picture. Yeah. Super funny. But yeah, I mean, delays and stuff aside, like, dude, I'm super pumped. Like, who do you want to start with?
That is such a hard question.
Yeah, I think it says like Maul on here, but
yeah, like we talked about Maul, like I guess like let's start with Maul because you always save the best for last, right? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, let's start with Maul. That's Maul also comes with Imperial probe droids, which is fascinating. We don't really know what they do.
Oh, like the Sith droids, yeah.
Oh yeah, not Sith probe droids, not Imperial probe droids. Thank you. Yeah, so Sith probe droids, which is going to have a new mechanic, which we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, he'll be an operative expansion. Meanwhile, his counterpart Anakin will in this release will be a commander. So kind of interesting there. But yeah, Maul. What do you think about Maul?
I think he's really exciting. I think they did him justice, and
tell me about it.
I kind of like that they went with Episode 1 Maul. Yeah. It feels very much like him. I thought the funniest thing is as you and I were watching the stream together, they kept talking about some of his abilities, especially with his command card here. And we looked at it. Yeah, let's read that right now. So they spoiled one of his command cards. It's his 1-pip. By the way, he has 2 1-pips. So we'll learn about the other later. They said they're saving it for the article. But this one's called Duel of the Fates. Super thematic, right on point with the flavor. And it says, Maul gains 1 dodge token and the keyword disengage. While Maul is engaged with an enemy unit, that unit cannot spend aim, dodge, standby, or surge tokens.
So let me just go kill Kenobi right now.
Yeah,
Can I just go get rid of him right now?
It's huge, right?
Yeah.
It's
thematic.
It's very thematic. Yeah. And, the way people have been playing Kenobi is kind of like a counter to everybody else's 1-pips. I've killed Palpatine with his standby token because sometimes you'll mess up and the person will aim first. Well, then you'll use your standby. With this, you can standby into them, but you can't spend the aim tokens you get or surge tokens. You can still use your criticals, but let's say Maul wins that. Well, then you're not guardianing those things away. You're not spending your dodges. You're not getting your deflects.
Yeah, exactly.
Your surge to. I think you can still. You can't even spend it. Yeah. So you can't get the surge to defense. It's very big.
Yeah, and what I really like about this, and they talked about this in the live stream of like Maul being this hyper aggressive, high risk, high reward character, much like Anakin, and we'll get into that in a second. But I love the fact that he's gonna have 2 1-pips because what does that mean? That means now, they specify that his other 1-pip is treated as a 3-pip, much like Han Solo's quote-unquote 0-pip is treated as a 1-pip when you're building your deck. So what that means is that you're getting 3 1-pips for your 6-round game.
Oh, baby!
You have so many options to go aggro, and it's going to be really cool to see how that works out.
It really beats other command. I love Dooku because you're getting your cunning, and so you kind of win every time. Yeah. But you can't win if you're going against 1-pips that many times. No, it's great. It's really good.
Yeah. Well, especially like with Dooku, like with Palpatine, like these characters you see a lot that are all about like control with like Palpatine's 3-pip is all about that like that control,
Everybody gets a token.
Yeah. But like honestly, like if I can eliminate those, if I put out a 1-pip and eliminate those really key threats, it's not as big of a problem. Yeah. It's still a problem. Don't get me wrong, but it takes an elephant and shrinks it down to like a hyena. Right.
I mean, it's interesting. Is like kind of it if you can go first and get the kills you need 3 turns in a row,
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah. Let's also talk about something else they talked about, which was his dice amount.
Yeah.
That's going to be crazy. 8 dice?
8. And you brought something up about this because as soon as they said 8, we both were like, whoa, like, what kind of dice is this going to be? Because
Yeah.
they specifically brought up Grievous.
Yeah.
And his is like, if you use both lightsabers, 2 reds, 4 blacks, 2 whites. You had something you thought. Like, you were saying what, like 4 whites, 4.
Oh, I was thinking
Reds,
2 reds,
thinking?
4 blacks, 2 whites. Like 8 die, like two.
So like the Grievous lightsabers.
Yeah, or maybe even 4 reds, 2 blacks, 2 whites. Like something like, which isn't it that kind of like statistically the same anyway? But
yeah, because I think the way the math works out is a black and a white statistically. I mean, barring like surges to crits and things like that, and rerolls does technically average out to a red.
Also, I will say this: if white dice are in his dice pool, I'll actually kind of be mad.
Really?
Only for this one fact: his skin is red and black. His dice should be red and black.
We're not going to touch that. We're not touching that. I was about to say, like, dude, I'm not going to go burn down. I'm not going to protest
no,
it.
Please don't.
Like Maul lives, man.
God.
Stuff like that. Like, we're not going to talk about that.
Make sure you pronounce the M, please.
Dude, oh my gosh.
But I
geez.
think just that's gonna be a super OCD thing of me. But if his dice aren't all red and black, I'll be kind of mad.
I'll admit I will be very disappointed if he has like 4 whites because they all,
You
know what I mean?
8
Like,
dice, they're all white.
You're like, bro, this is just my stormtroopers.
Yeah.
yeah.
But they did.
Like,
Okay,
you sure just crit. Like, who cares?
yeah.
Like,
They also did mention that, like, how Grievous, because they did compare him to Grievous a couple times actually. How Grievous has arsenal, because Grievous is good to like take on a lot. He has lightsabers flinging everywhere, taking on lots of enemies. But they talked about thematically, Maul likes to separate his victims into 2 separate fights, right? And so that's why he doesn't have arsenal. But they talked about, if I remember correctly, something else that he'll have, which, you know what I think? That makes me think of? He's gonna have something like Palpatine, where he can attack more than once.
really?
Yeah, I think that's going to be his big thing. Maybe not
nearly
as strong.
So you mean like maybe he won't be taking wounds, but like he'll be taking like 2 or 3 suppression and immobilized tokens.
Well,
and things.
why not wounds? Like, that's super fitting his character, right? Like he's super aggressive against his own benefit, right? Like, we see it time and time again, not only in the movies but in the shows, of Maul like going way over his head and being way overzealous. So I would love to see that be reflected in his play style. Like, okay, well, I'm going to get my second attack this round, but I do suffer, like, that's the thing. I don't want it to be just like Palpatine, but yeah, like maybe built in, like, he can attack again, but he suffers 2 wounds and he has 5 health. So you're only going to really get that off like once if you're being really smart about it.
Well, that would make a lot of sense too, because maybe the whole idea is like, you know how they're doing the stances.
Yeah.
First of all, that was something I thought was super interesting.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. But a little bit of a spoiler there. I wonder if the stances will work into that, because I think that's a great way to do it, where maybe it's a command card where, if you start the round engaged with somebody, you can get 2 attacks off. It's not unheard of. A lot of the dark side characters have command cards that do that. Grievous has his one where technically you can move an attack with Relentless and at the end of the turn do an attack. Yeah. Vader has his cards that let him attack more. That would be right in line with what he's doing. Yeah. Even Dooku has his one that gives him arsenal so we can get 2 attacks off.
Yeah, and like what you were saying actually reminded me of made me think of something. We've often speculated, okay, after Clone Wars, of course you'd want to do sequel era. Total side note here, but I think that'll be something within the stances we'll see that will definitely, like, no doubt we're going to get Rey and Kylo Ren eventually, right? I think a big character trait about them will be like Force Heal, right? So I think there will be a stance that will reflect that kind of ability, like, can't attack this turn, but you can heal 1 and you get 2 dodge tokens or something like that.
Well, that'd be, what's funny about that, so I played the Galaxy of Heroes game. That's how they did Episode 9 Kylo and Rey.
So you're saying...
They gave them stances and it changed things up.
So you're saying I should design games?
Yeah, something like that. You may have played a game or 2 in your life before, actually.
But let's move on. Let's move on. Bye-bye, Mr. Maul Guy. Let's say hi to Anakin.
Mr. Shy Guy.
My personal, like, don't get me wrong, I am really equally hyped, but if I were gonna have to choose one, I'd have to choose Anakin just because I have the clones going ready. Right? So like, so Anakin, he's good so far of what we've seen.
He is.
Not a lot. Oh, wait, something we totally forgot to mention is that the point value on Maul. That's a big deal. 160?
160. That's a very interesting point value. Because you got to think, I think Grievous is like 170, 175.
Yeah.
You're 10 points cheaper there.
Yeah. Which is also which is the same as Anakin, who's also 160, which is also lower than Obi-Wan. So like it's a very clear like parity there of Grievous and Obi-Wan being a little bit higher cost, but these lower cost characters being maybe more powerful but higher risk as well. So that'll be cool to see. But we did get a couple spoilers for Anakin. One was the stances mostly when the article showed off. And I say spoiler for Anakin just because Anakin's face is on the card we saw.
But it's a training upgrade.
It's a training upgrade, but it requires a force icon only. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes because like maybe I don't know. There's so many things we could talk about with like the stances maybe not needing not battle meditation, force reflexes as much maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so let's get into Anakin of what we do know. We did get spoiled his 3-pip, which is called Hero of the Clone Wars. It's for Anakin and 2 units. It's a permanent effect. Anakin Skywalker gains Exemplar and Reliable 2 at the end of his activation. If he is not at range 1 to 2 of a friendly unit, he gains 1 suppression token. So that's a permanent effect, and that's all of that card. So even like that, like Anakin is in permanent hostile environment mode.
Permanent, except he needs to be touching buddies,
Touching buddies.
In a not weird way. But yeah, like he's kind of like a puppy dog. He needs to be by his buddy. I really like this build. I think it makes use of different mechanics of the game in such an interesting way. Exemplar, we've seen that with Padme. The staying within range of particular units is very big.
Yeah.
That's a very big mechanic to the game, and I think that plays right into the flavor of who Anakin and Obi-Wan were during the Clone Wars.
Well, and even so, like, the way you should play clones, as of right now anyway, like, why would you not be doing that anyway?
Exactly. So, I like that also, I mean, you think about that, the clones are together so they can shoot.
Yeah.
I like that it makes it a Force user that can run up with another Force user.
Oh, yeah. Well, and something else when it comes to Anakin's command cards, we did get a little bit of information as well that not quite a command card, but it'll be incorporated into their deck. That while Anakin's, well, hold on, let's back up. So Anakin's command cards are all going to have permanent effects, right? So like they did say that much, that every single one of his command cards are going to have permanent effects. So at the game, he's going to start much weaker than he is at the end of the game. So you kind of build him up as the game goes on. But there's also a card that comes with that you give to your opponent. How it works, we don't really know. They did say it's not a command card. It's not something that your opponent builds into their deck, but it's something that you give to your opponent that they can use against you.
Yeah, like it is a command card, but they have the option of using it. That's a detriment to Anakin.
And that's what's confusing, right? Because I was re-listening to this today, and they specified like it's not a command card.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said it's not a command card. It's something that's included in the command deck, though, that's played during the command phase. So it won't ever take a place of your opponent using a command card.
Huh.
So they'll be like, I'm using Han Solo to shoot first. Also, I'm now playing this card during the command phase.
I was thinking about these the other day because we've been talking about how how would you incorporate Order 66?
Yeah.
How would you incorporate things like that? That might be a way to do it, where maybe for a turn, Anakin is more. I feel like he'll be broken to make him attack your own side. Because that just feels bad.
That's what I was going to say. That's another operative Luke problem.
But maybe it's the sort of thing where, he's got the card here. We just read it with the Hero of the Clone Wars, where he's taking suppression tokens if he's not by friends. Maybe it's the opposite, where if he's by friendly units, he's taking suppression tokens. So rather than keeping him, punishing him for being close to you, or maybe do the opposite. If he's close to enemy units, he takes suppression tokens just to, punish him a little bit.
That actually might work, especially like if he's out on his own and he's in enemy territory. Like boom, perfect time. And then I'm sure Cad Bane with his suppression sharing could actually make that like just a nightmare.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you've got Anakin, who I kind of want Anakin to be a little bit like Vader. Like if he doesn't have Courage 3, courage, or maybe even no Courage at all, like just a stat line like that.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
I'm so interesting.
Matt, you ready for this?
Yo, let's hear
I'm
it.
pretty sure. I told you I wanted to wait for the podcast before
Was
I
that?
said this because I'm so glad you brought this up. The fact that he'll play a lot like Vader. We already kind of know what Anakin would play like. Operative Vader. Like,
You think he'll just be Op Vader?
Not quite the same, but like if you think about the character and timeline of like, I think they'll be very closely matched. Attacks might be the same. I also think Anakin's gonna have Force choke built in. So
That's true, because Vader doesn't have Force choke. He's got, or at least Op doesn't. He's got the Force blast, which would make complete sense for Anakin too to have that.
So I think we've already been kind of clued into on how Anakin's going to operate just because of that. It's going to be definitely like light side more, but man, if he doesn't have Force choke, I'm going to be so pissed.
And it's such an Anakin thing to have. Yeah. That'd be very interesting to have that, and then maybe like. It'd be fun to have an Op Vader, because Op Vader is very good. But imagine that Op Vader, who doesn't have to spur to move speed 2.
Oh, that's the thing too. It's like,
and then you give him relentless.
Yeah, like this guy better be fast.
And I know you said you want him to just have Anakin's, like Luke's lightsaber.
Oh, I don't want it, but I'm guessing that's what's going to happen.
I'm really hoping it's like Luke's plus some. So maybe it's like some blacks, some reds. So maybe not completely Vader's lightsaber, but this is like the lightsaber when it's still fresh and new, not 30 years old.
Also in the hands of literally the chosen one.
Yeah, the guy who's literally like the chosen one. He better hit hard.
Yeah.
And I think based off of what I'm seeing here, I bet he will. Because can you imagine if turn 1, 2, and 3, you're just playing his command cards. Imagine how many keywords he'll have by the very end. He'll have a lot of keywords. He'll be pretty hard to take down by turn 4, 5, and 6, unless you're just acing him off the board.
That's the thing. I think like if as far as threat level goes, he's threat level midnight.
Gold face.
I'm sorry, I'm such a freaking jokester, but it's whatever. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of Anakin. What we do know. Am I missing anything, Matt?
No, I mean we don't really know too much more about him. They did spoil a couple of the cards, like portable scanners and stuff.
Let's be honest, no one cares. You're gonna get take cover, okay?
That's the thing. Like we're not too worried about those. It is hard that they don't give us so much for a giant event like Gen Con. But obviously we'll be getting articles probably in October since they're slated for November.
I'd rather them announce 2 or 3 things and honor their release dates than announce 10 things and never honor their release dates. So we'll see in November if Anakin and Maul come.
As long as we're not waiting for the next 2 things we're about to talk about until March, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, which, why don't we go into that now?
Yeah, so the next 2 things we want to talk about, and I'll be honest, as much as I'm super excited for Maul and Anakin, I'm a little more excited for these as a droids fan.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And these things are the new specialist packs for the Separatists and the Republic.
Yeah.
They are incredible, and I am super excited.
These are I've been on record before with people in the community, and I think I've said on the podcast before. These are things I didn't think that these factions would even get. I thought this would make them too good, but depends on how they operate it, I guess. Because like having clones share tokens and repair and shoot, like that's crazy, right?
That is absolutely crazy. And the droids, they already are so cheap for so many options, and then the options they have that are good are so expensive that you can just fit more. Like, that's the last thing they need.
Oh yeah. So I guess let's talk about let's go with the Separatists, right? Like we did get a little bit of information that they're not going to have a medic droid per se. They're gonna have instead their Viper droid. Yeah. It's like a recon. It's gonna give us that new token that they're talking about, the observation token. And we have this listed later, but let's just cover it now, don't you think?
Yeah, let's just cover it now.
Yeah, like the observation token, we don't really know what it does, but it's a new dynamic that they've talked about or that is coming into the game. It's gonna be a new token, much like how the Surge token was added. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we talked about this. It's going to be something that has to be very interactive. I kind of brought up the idea, and I want to see what you think about it, of it maybe counteracting other tokens. So maybe it's the kind of thing where if somebody has an observation token, if you shoot that unit, you get an additional aim token just for shooting them. Or maybe if you see that unit, like they have an observation token, they also can't spend dodges. Things like that where there needs to be a benefit to it. And I think that's going to be really determined because like we talked about this before with the droids, I don't think I'm taking the medical droid very much, if at all. Maybe I'll take it so I can try and heal the commanders, but for the most part, I think I'm going to let the armies run. I think that would be the one that you're going to take more often than not.
Yeah, and my personal theory on it is that it's more of like a situational thing where it's like I use this droid to go and observe, right? It's an action, right? Whatever, or maybe it's a free action, right? Maybe it's exhaustible, who knows? But it's something that like how you were saying, like I shoot this unit, this unit's in my range of 1 to 2 or whatever.
Yeah,
I get that token that they have. So
you steal their token,
or they just get a double of it, right? So like an observation token is just like a wild card in my eyes, where it's like, oh, I observe this dodge token over here for free. Okay, great. I'm going to take that. I'm also going to aim now and shoot this other unit, you know?
Oh, so you're saying maybe it's the kind of thing where I'll take an observation token and I'll spend it for either a dodge or an aim.
Or a standby or a sir, you know, like whatever. Or another observation. No, I'm just kidding. Rule 1, you can't wish for more wishes.
So you shoot me, you're done rolling. I spend my observation token for an observation token. Why? Just because.
I literally can't do anything. You already won the game, and I just want to meet.
Yeah. Those are some hot takes, but honestly, like I wouldn't be surprised if one of us is right.
Like it's one of those things. Like we don't know. So
right. And the funny thing is, like as I think about it, there are so many ways to break that. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like it could end up being one of those things where it's more incidental and not super important.
Yeah.
And maybe it's kind of like other things in the game where the more you have of that thing, the better it is. Kind of like maybe that's why Maul's coming with more than one of those droids.
Yeah. Well, then I guess like another thing that we touched on earlier with the clones, kind of something that's going to set them apart from other specialist upgrades. Maybe this might be the case for droids too. If correct me if I'm wrong, but like the clones' medical personnel is going to also be a combatant. So it's not like the medical droids for Empire and Rebels. They're going to be able to fight too.
That's going to be just a clones thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. I mean, it makes sense, right? He has a gun.
He does. It did bug me because I just painted some of my Phase 2s into that Umbara group.
Oh, yeah.
So I just put Jesse and Kix.
Oh, yeah.
And then they announced these guys, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to paint another Kix. Okay, yeah. He's there. Sorry, guys.
That's funny, though. Like, yeah. So having combatants as a medical, that just makes that so much more worth it. No more decision making there. Like, yeah, of course I'm going to take a medical personnel. He can also shoot.
Well, it's crazy because one of the only ways that I found to combat clone standbys, at least a little bit, is to just focus down the unit that's constantly shooting you. Well, now you can just heal them back up.
Right. You know how annoyed I am of Dooku force choking my mortars away? Thank goodness I can get them back now.
Just pop them back.
Yeah, for real though. But yeah, that's kind of it for the specials. We didn't get a whole lot. We just got the announcement of them.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if you need to, they did release an article that gives a little bit more spoilers, like the T-Series tactical droid.
Oh yeah, that's
going to give you a reliable, and he'll add a red die to your attack, which is great.
Yeah. Well, and no slouch on that either, because we also should mention that that's a cheap commander option now for the droids, which they desperately need.
It is, and I think he's kind of one of the cheaper weapon upgrades if you wanted to just take him into a regular unit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. They did, one side note, they did mention something that I wanted to bring up because you've brought it up on the podcast before. They did mention a lot about how the droids are very focused on lots of units. Yeah. They did say that. They didn't go into it anymore. It was just like a side note because we know Luke Eddy. He's always teasing things. I wonder if he has a command card, maybe has a permanent command card you take that lets you have more core trooper units. Just a weird thought. But it wouldn't surprise me. So you can kind of run more than 6.
We all want it, so even me playing against the droids, I'm like, why aren't they having more of these?
That'd be your swarm.
Yeah,
just go ahead and do it.
I just feel like that swarm, that weenie rush, whatever you want to call it, needs to happen for them.
Even if it's like 2 more units, I'd be happy.
Yeah, like I know that they have more minis, but come on, I need actual stuff.
I want to not have any open space on the table.
Yeah. I literally want to see droids just covered in clone blood.
Yeah, something like that.
And I play clones. But yeah, that's kind of it for those new and Gen Con announcements. So I guess now it's time to move on to some community questions. Matt, why don't you read off that first question for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So this first one comes to us from Mr. Pleb on the Discord. He asks, "How do you think the new How do you think the new announcements will change the meta?" That's a great question. He's like, yes. I will say I think the meta from what we're seeing right now, at least from what I've played against, is standby clones. Mm-hmm. And from what I've seen from the tabletop simulator games and streams I've watched, it's clones with standby tokens. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that or no?
Well, yeah.
Like as far as like the best team and best list to run.
I'll be devil's advocate for myself because I always think the clones are the best anyway.
Yeah.
I'll be devil's advocate and say that I don't really think we have a meta. I don't think we have had a meta for a long time. When was the last time we had a Worlds?
That's very true.
Like Adepticon, was a bunch of people. A lot of those players were trying new things, right? Trying things that they maybe wanted to take to Worlds, and then guess what? Worlds didn't happen. There's no meta right now. Like we say there is, but tabletop simulator is not reflective of real table. I will fight with my dying. I will die on this hill, man.
Well, that's what's so funny. You're definitely right about that. I mean, the funny thing with tabletop simulator is the exact same tables. And granted, when we make tables here, sometimes they're similar.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same tables over and over. So you don't really have to play the game. You just have to know the ins and out of that one table.
Yeah, and that's very video gamey, and that's fine.
Yeah, totally fair.
But I want the randomness that comes with new terrain setups every time. I want the same. I don't want the same people setting up the same tables every time, like in tournaments that we've had before. That
whole thing. We go to a different store and you don't know what to expect.
Let's talk about that. Let's not Why do we have certain groups of? I'm kind of getting heated here, I guess, but why do we have the same 5 to 10 people in the community deciding for us what the meta is? F that, dude. F that.
Well, I think you're right, and it's interesting that we brought this up a little bit earlier, but having newer people come into the community, we're seeing things get played that we haven't been seeing getting played, like ATRTs with triple ATRTs, mm-hmm. Land speeders, double air speeders, things that are very interesting. Mm-hmm. Even if you look at Empire, a lot of dewbacks, a lot of snowtroopers, things that maybe in the past we've seen once or twice. But the newer things we've seen come out recently, I think, have already changed up what has been standard.
Yeah.
To where there's a lot more options. So, and I agree 100%. I don't think we have a set meta, but I think these things definitely will change the focus because I think they're units that people have been wanting for a while.
Well, I had mentioned to you, and this is kind of going back to the original question too. I had mentioned to you that I think Anakin coming into the fray will change how we play clones. I still think standby clones are going to be there. Yeah, but I also think that with Anakin being partnered up with Obi-Wan is going to be super strong. And that may mean you have to take an 8 activation list, but that's a scary 8 activation list, right? Again, something that we've talked about before. It's sure, it's not quote-unquote meta, but it might be if you took it somewhere, And that's really all I meant by my previous statement. I don't mean any disrespect towards anyone in the community. This community is awesome. But I definitely, when I say F that, I mean I'm so excited for other people bringing what they have to the table now that more people are getting, like you said, into the game. Or, as we get to the point where we're not playing on Tabletop Simulator with the same 5 tables anymore, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it.
I mean, heck, Will just sold off one of the tables. One of the guys in our community, Will, he just sold off a set of the terrain he's made. Yeah. That shows something right there. Just having new terrain and the way things will interact is different. Hopefully that helps a little bit, Mr. Pleb. I think that's at least a pretty decent answer. Short answer, yes. Long answer, we'll have to see what meta develops in 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, and then Marshall asks, do you think what do you think the defensive stance will be? Double dodges, no aim spend? And I think that's just in direct reference to how the offensive stance is. You get 2 aim tokens, but you can't use dodge tokens. Yeah, and I think that's totally right on course. I think that's just a no-brainer. I think that's what it's going to be. Or maybe it's they gain nimble. Something that does definitely involve more dodge tokens for the price of 1.
Maybe maybe nimble.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this earlier because they did mention that Maul and Anakin will have Juyo and Joseon.
Oh, yeah.
Or soju, whatever it is. No, soju is the Japanese alcohol. No, or whichever it is.
Seppuku Sudoku.
Seppuku Sudoku. But I wonder if I think it'll be exactly what you're saying. And I think the stances, you can probably take them with different Jedi, but maybe they'll work better based off of those keywords.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Dooku's got Makashi Mastery, Kenobi has Soresu. Maybe for Maul and Anakin, those things will play better. Like because that doesn't sound so great on face value.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe with Anakin being more aggressive with those aim tokens, maybe he'll do different things.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where maybe he's more of a duelist and you need those aim tokens to get pierce and crits.
Yep.
Maybe with Maul, you've got the same thing for more dodges. We'll see how it goes, but I think those are going to be very key for those characters, maybe not so much for the other Force wielders.
Yeah, and that's only 2 of the stances, and it looked like there were going to be more, like we talked about, like maybe a healing stance or something like that. And I want to say I saw one that was exhaustible, and that one was a one-time use.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. And what was so funny about it is I think we're going to need obviously more clarification with this with rules. The fact that it calls for a Force slot, a Force icon.
Yeah.
That almost makes me think that since it's a training upgrade, you could take instead of a Force ability.
Yeah.
Which, if you've got offensive push, is just going to double up your aim tokens a lot quicker. I don't know. I guess we'll end up seeing. But I think from what you said, Kyle, it's probably more like that.
Well, and thank goodness that we're getting more options for Force users, because as the game stands right now, I don't think at a competitive standpoint, there's not a whole lot of reason to use the Force users when you can, like for clones, for example. Like, why use Obi-Wan when you can get 3 or 4 more clone troopers in there?
You can get more phase 2s.
Yeah. Which also, like, honestly, the offensive and defensive stance is going to be a huge buff to Kenobi. Imagine having Nimble, like, if it's Nimble, having Nimble every round instead of just the one. Or if you do get 2 dodge tokens on Hello there, okay, I spend 4 dodge tokens, but I actually get 8. Like, that's going to be insane.
Like, that's so good.
Huge buff for Kenobi. And you'll love to see it, because Kenobi's my boy. He's my lad.
Especially with that Soresu Mastery anyways. It's going to be great for him.
Yeah.
I really hope this does change the Force abilities, because it's fine to have, Force reflexes, Force push, Force choke. Those are like the go-tos, maybe Force, maybe like Saber throw now and then. But I do also really want to see, I think along your lines, I want to see change up in Force abilities taken.
Yeah. I want Lightside to actually have some good Force abilities too, if that makes sense.
Well, what you said about Luke with Force
with Jedi
Mind Trick, yeah.
That's like the only practical use I find out of that.
It's the only Force user I would take that on, honestly. But hopefully that changes things.
Yeah, no, it's true. And then Marshall also asks, what do you think are the 4 Galactic Civil War expansions?
So just so you guys know, we like this question. We're going to turn this kind of into our double vision.
Yeah.
Double vision.
That's the thing. Like, when it comes down to it, there's still so much that they could choose from. I think based on what they said before, and actually this isn't what I think. I'm totally stealing one of Matt's, but Matt can suck it. We talked about this before the podcast, that like some of the things, like with Anakin, he's going to have a card you give to your opponent, and they had talked about how that's going to show an allegiance. Like, maybe they have a soft spot for the other side. I think Agent Callus would be a
you totally stole that from me.
I did.
You totally did.
No shame, dude.
You didn't even actually. No, you just said it straight open, and I was like, he's not gonna. There's no way.
He wouldn't.
No.
He did. That mother.
I thought I was so clever.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll cut it there, because I just wanted to mess around with Matt there. Matt, you finished the thought.
Oh, yeah.
This is your idea.
Well, it goes along the line.
Wait, hold on. This whole operation was your idea.
Well, the chosen one. There he is. But I'll also spoil my other thought for it. But, like, I think Callus and then, like, Saw Gerrera would be great.
Oh, yeah.
Because they both, I think Saw Gerrera, first of all, he's got a weird past where he works with the rebels, but he hurts them a lot.
Yeah.
Agent Callus on the other side was Imperial, and he swaps to the Rebellion. If you've ever seen Rebels, spoiler alert. But he's also such a nuanced character.
Wait, if you haven't seen Rebels by now, what are you doing?
It's Disney Plus. Go watch it. Verizon gives it to you for free. But I think that'd be such a cool thing to play around with, where maybe you've got stuff like that. Maybe it's a card that gives you the intel on, like, the opponent has to pick their card first, kind of like the Fulcrum thing. And then you get to see what their command card is. And then you're like, oh, you're going to go with a 2-pip? Okay, I'll play a 1-pip.
Oh, my gosh. That would be so cool for Ahsoka, too.
It would be great for Fulcrum Ahsoka, yeah. But I don't think we'll get her quite yet. But I think those are the 2 options I've thought of. Maybe what are your 2 choices for the Galactic Civil War?
Okay, so for Galactic Civil War, if I'm going to choose, like, one from each side, Let's say your 2 were half of it. My 2 would be out of there. I would definitely say, like, I think everyone wants Thrawn, but still, as much as we all want him, I don't think he's coming anytime soon.
It's like Thanos. It's not his time yet.
Yeah, it's not his time yet. If I'm talking about like units or characters that desperately need to be in this game already, if we're talking about Rebels, Agent Callus coming in with like Ezra or Kanan or Hera would be sick.
Oh, so flush out the rest of the Rebels.
Yeah,
squad.
like I think focusing on that series would be a really good move because it's a fan favorite, really. So if they did Callus, they could also why not do Thrawn too, right? Like they could do Callus and Thrawn, and then they could do Ezra and Kanan, or they could do Kanan and Hera, or maybe Kanan and Ezra are in the same unit, like K2 and stuff. Maybe it's young. Who knows? Okay,
right? And well, maybe along the same lines, maybe they pull out like some weird unit of Corp troopers or something, and give them to the Empire, and maybe we get like Saw's partisans with Saw Gerrera, and maybe we get something like that for Agent Callus.
Well, and then there's one character that I bet a couple of you are just screaming at the radio or wherever you're listening to us right now. I bet you're screaming at us right now. Lando. Like, how is Lando not in this game yet?
You know, that would actually round out the OT trilogy for the most part. Yeah.
I think that would generate a lot of hype, a lot of it's a fan favorite. So I think I think Lando is gotta come. Like I can't wait to see his abilities.
Oh, that would be so cool because he betrays the rebels at that one point. So in episode 5,
exactly. So he could
get that same mechanic.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Also, like, shoot me in the foot if you disagree with me, but young Han Solo. Like, let's buff Han Solo. Like, let's do it. Like, it's about time that he gets something that makes him good again. And by again, I mean at all.
So you're thinking like operative Solo?
Well, I think it'll be operative Solo, but he has cards that can be used with Commander Solo too.
Like Luke.
Yeah, exactly. So like maybe it's command cards, maybe it's upgrades, maybe it's just like who knows? Like I think if Lando and young, like maybe it's young Lando and young Han, right? That'd be cool.
Honestly, I think that would be so cool. I mean, obviously, I would prefer them to be scoundrels.
Yeah.
But why not make them like that? At the same time, just say, hey, like, because you remember back in Gamma, we were hearing a lot about Legion plus Mando.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite time for Mando and Gideon yet. They're just not characters that have been fleshed out yet. Why not just kind of pseudo-introduce Scoundrel faction at the same time?
Yeah, I think that plan, honestly, if I'm being 100% honest with you, I think the plan to bring Mando and other Mandalorians besides Clan Wren in, I think that's been put on the back burner big time.
Oh, it's got to be.
Like, yeah. I don't think we should expect that because that when they announced that was such a hey, yeah, we're going to do this, don't worry. And it was behind a closed-door event and, well, quote-unquote, closed doors. It wasn't a public event, we'll say that.
Yeah. And well, let's be real, that was before everything happened. Yeah. So it's probably it could have changed.
Yeah, I honestly think that they're just trying to get the game back into a community-driven standpoint again to where like people are excited to play the game again. Because there's times where even if I'm being 100% authentic with you guys, there was times where I just didn't even want to play the game anymore because, one, they didn't have anything that excited me. They didn't have any releases coming. They didn't have anything to look forward to. And that was before COVID even started. I'll be real. Like, there was times where I was like, I don't even know if I want to play Legion anymore, despite how much I love it, despite how much I love talking about it. And yeah, that would never actually happen. But there were thoughts where I was like, maybe I should just throw in the towel and pick up a different game.
Well, it doesn't help. And just to be straight honest, the factions you and I were especially for you, it was just straight clones. Yeah, there was nothing fresh or new for you.
And then the other faction I chose was literally dog crap. Just kidding. I love the Rebels. But overall, every time I choose the Rebels, I always lose. I have a good time doing it, but
was now that it's funny that how much changed with just getting operative Luke and how that really helped the Rebels, and then everything we've gotten since. I think just we can probably even leave it on that note, but that's the one thing I think Legion needs right now because we're still getting lots of people in. It's a great game. I love it. Consistent releases will be the biggest thing to help this game just be number one.
Yeah. I would not
everywhere.
even be surprised also that like if Anakin and Maul were like scheduled in the future, but they're like, no, we need to do this like ASAP because these are something that's going to get the community invested again, and they worked. I think it worked. But that's it for today, guys. We hope to see you again next week. We had a great time. Matt, do you have any concluding words for us?
Nah, just wear your masks. Actually, with your masks, please wash them. That's what I'm about to go do, is go home and do laundry and wash my mask. It's been like a week or two. It's getting bad.
Yeah.
Wash your masks.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, guys, if you did enjoy the podcast, make sure to leave a like. If you're on YouTube, if you're on other platforms, consider sharing it with a friend. We really appreciate that. Get this out to more, that like alone just gets us out to more Legion fans, gets the hype going back in the community, because like I said, we're in a new season of the 801st here, and we're so excited to be back. We're hopeful that you're excited to be back as well. But with that, I just want to express one more time like how grateful we are for you guys keeping this community alive in a hard time. You know, like we talked about how, you know, sometimes Legion, our passion for it wanes, but the friends we made in this community, both in real life and through the podcast, it's just been awesome.
Yeah, and the hype is real. We're super excited to start getting more games back in. Obviously, as minimally as we can, once or twice a month, but just excited to be back.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you.
Peace.